Thanks for joining us for this episode. And I do want to remind you to make sure that you are following us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you may listen to podcasts. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@churchadvance. And you can actually watch video versions of each episode. We'd also really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star review and share this content with other pastors and church leaders. We want to help as many of these folks as we can, and so we'd really appreciate you sharing this episode with your friends. Well, thanks again for joining us as we begin today's episode and continue to advance a reformation of fellowship, partnership, and gospel hope amongst Bible-believing pastors and churches. This is Church Advance with Bryan Sams.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Church Advance and live here in the studios with my buddy Luke on the scene. And man, we're talking about parenting and no small task and not for the faint of heart, man.
Yeah. So we kind of in the last episode had a little bit of an introduction. It was kind of wound up being a long runway to the main content, which we're going to get into today. But I will say, I think that is a great prerequisite to this conversation. It kind of lays a foundation, sets the groundwork. And so make sure you catch that episode. But yeah, Bryan, I think today we're going to dive right in. This is where I just am going to do a lot more listening because I've only got the one child. You've got 5. And so today we are talking specifically, we're going to start the conversation about raising 5 kids. Any introductory comments on that before we get into the main?
Yeah, man. I mean, I would just say the first conversation was just philosophical. These are some of the purposes for which we are parenting. This is now a practical session on have multiple kids. Frankly, it could be 2, 3, 4. 5. My case is 5. But anytime you got multiple kids going on, you should consider some of these principles. I would say number 2. I mentioned this before, but I mean, I don't feel like we have this at all. I'm just sharing experience here. Some of the things that we are doing. And I find as this relates to me and my wife, it's super important that we keep our marriage the forefront of all this. And because if we're not, in good harmony and just just enjoying the best of our relationship for one reason or the other, maybe we're too tired or, whatever might be happening that throws us off. We've got to be synced on this. And I think that helps a ton. Obviously, when you guys are on the same page and you're in it together, and keeping your relationship first. And then some of these things are just things we have agreed to in terms of our own personal walk with God and our experience and what we have seen work or not work with our kids. So these are 10 tips, and some are a little more philosophical, practical, but some of them are fun. But let's get it going, man. There's 10 tips. I think we're going to do 5 of them in this episode, 5 next episode.
All right. Yeah. So let's get rolling. The first of these 10 is each kid is unique and special to God, and they should be treated as such.
Yeah. I mean, that is just fundamental to any relationship, any human interaction. Every single person is unique and special, created in the image of God, and should be treated individually. Goes back to something we said last time about the kind of the cookie cutter mentality. Not every kid is the same. And this now they all have a sinful nature. There are things that are similar, but they're not all the same. Like writing a book about raising boys. Well, not every boy is exactly the same. I've got my brother-in-law, he's got 3 boys. I have 3 boys. And 2 of his boys love to hunt and fish. They're all into it. Kind of rambunctious, that kind of thing. Their 3rd boy, which is their middle child, is not like the other guys at all. He's more chill and, He's more like the gamer type or whatever. But they're all great kids. It's just, this would be like Luke saying, all my boys are going to play baseball. All my
Mm.
boys are going to be musicians. All my boys are going to, love to hunt fish. I would love for all my boys to want to fish. And so far, so good. But I have to treat them individually. And each kid has their own personality. Each kid has the God given bent. I believe Proverbs 20, verse 6 talks about the way in which they should go, so to speak, and or according to his way. Every kid has different experiences. Every kid has different emotions. Every kid has interests, and every kid has um, needs to be treated like the valuable and special person that they are. In our case, we even have other unique individual issues where, I mean, frankly, there's 4 adoptions out of our 5. 3 of our adopted kids are Hispanic, and they are siblings, and they're even half siblings. So some of them have the same dad, and one of them doesn't. As far as I know, same biological father. I'm their dad.
Yeah.
Uh, and then our oldest daughter is African American. She's you know her background physiologically is just different. And then we have Brent. Brent's our biological son, and he's the one that looks like us, and he's the one that you can see my eyes in him. You can see Angie's features in him. It's really different, and so we had 2 kids come to us after being basically mistreated for the first couple years of their life, and then you've got the other ones that grew up under our roof the whole time. It's just every kid is different.
Hmm.
You must understand that if you're going to love and care for your kids well. I've got some kids that like to snuggle. I've got others that don't. I've got some kids that need to be maybe more firmly spoken to. So, like my oldest daughter, she's not one that would give in easily, if you will. So sometimes I'd have to be more firm with her, not crazy, but firm. Whereas if I was that firm with one of my boys, like Brent, he's just going to melt down and fall apart. One kid might need more stern discipline because they're not getting it, whereas the other may just need a talk because that's all they need to have God arrest their attention. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying no matter what category we're talking in, every kid you have, and every human for that matter, is unique. In fact, First Thessalonians 5 tells us that we do deal with people according to their God-given bent or their self-induced bent, whatever it is. I mean, patient to certain people, strong with these people. It talks about the different types of people that you will encounter in ministry and parenting in this case. And you should adjust the way that you talk to discipline, teach, and instruct people according to their particular way God's made them.
Yes, and like you said, everybody take parenting out of it. Everybody is uniquely made by God, and you have to. Again, we kind of go back to the conversation we had in the last episode. Not every child will be the same, and so therefore you can't just take the exact same approach to everyone.
Right.
And so they're all unique. And with that in mind, number 2 is a similar concept, and that is the principle of respect is important because every person in this home is a child of the King and should be treated accordingly.
That's actually a quote that has been on our refrigerator. Every person in this home is a child of the King and should be treated accordingly.
Mm.
And that's okay. So the first one, Luke, is more about our ministry to our children.
Huh.
The second one is more about creating a culture in the home where everybody is respected. And that it can be more like kid to kid. I mean, it certainly is kid to parent, parent to kid, but it even is more than that. If you want to create a healthy home, you expect respect.
Yeah.
And all I mean is this. Look, I'm going to be when it comes to relationships, which life is built on, I'm going to be dialed into that when I see my kids failing in a relational issue. Like if they're mistreating the brother or sister, being unkind, yelling, hitting, fighting, sibling rivalry. I'm going to be much more dialed into that because I want them to know everybody needs to be respected. That's important because it's going to spill out into relationships outside of the church.
Mm.
I mean, you've been there, man. You've been in a church when there's kids that don't respect leaders or
Yeah.
authority or each other or other humans. It's terrible. Why? Because that's fundamental to humans, treating people with dignity and respect and kindness and understanding that everybody has worth and everybody should be, should experience the love of Christ from us. So that's a really important piece in our home. I mean, there's a couple things you can do in our home that are going to really get you in trouble. Okay. One, lie.
Mm.
Lying is a no-no. It's a big
Yeah.
no-no. And the second one would be disrespecting someone else, being ugly to someone else is how that's the word we just have used. Because ugly usually comes out in the face, the old ugly face when they're
Yeah.
mad or gritting or whatever. So it's just a word that we've used in our family, and you will quickly get in trouble in the Sam's family if you lie or if you're unkind to someone else,
Mm.
because your brother or your sister is a child of the king, and you wouldn't treat a king's kid that way.
Wow.
So that's just kind of a fundamental principle. Don't let your kids um, don't just shrug it off. Say, oh, it's just sibling rivalry. No, it's not. It's wrong.
Mm.
Um, and you might not be able to stop it altogether, but you can sure coach it and work on it and point it out and put scripture to it, and certainly appropriate punishments when necessary when it's just not being upheld. So that's a big deal, man, right there.
Yeah, and I like how with that is the emphasis on the dignity of just humanity and of being like I said, a child of the King, a child of God. You are a person, and your siblings and your parents
Mm.
are people as well, which is why you need to respect them. Because I think so many times, just in general in parenting, you can say, "Hey, behave this way or do this," and when you don't have a good why, it doesn't really take effect. So yeah, taking the time to explain to your child that, yeah, hey, other people, yourself included, deserve respect because they are, again, a human being. I think that's really
Yeah,
powerful.
James 3 talks about this one, talks about how you use your words with people, right? It talks
Hmm.
about uh, with it, our tongue, this is James 3:9, we bless God and we curse men who have been made in the similitude of God. So it's an argument that James makes about how you speak about people.
Hmm.
This person is made in the image of God. So don't speak down, don't curse something that God created. So it's just a foundational principle of how we treat it. So it's why murder's a sin. It's why stealing is a sin,
Hmm.
because you're not loving your neighbor as yourself. Jesus said that loving your neighbor as yourself is only second to loving God with all your heart, soul, and mind.
Yeah.
Those are the philosophical reasons why we expect respect.
Yeah. And so good there again, not just, it's just such a great perspective on, again, laws and rules and in general is understanding that it is for the betterment of the others in my life. And so
Yeah.
that is again, really powerful. All right. So number three is realizing that the most important work you will ever do is within the walls of your own home.
That is actually painted in our house
Mm.
on a wall as a reminder to us that the most important things we are doing are here. And I mean, I'm in ministry, man. I'm a preacher. I am a pastor. I am a Bible teacher. I invest in college students. I got a lot of what I would consider to be important work to do. But I don't think anything exceeds my children in importance, and
Mm.
not just my children. My wife is in that house as well. So, man, this is real practical for me, Luke. My schedule is dictated by my family. So when I first came to this church 8 years ago, one of the first things I told them when the church only had 50 people was, look, I'm a young parent, and I'm not going to be tied up every night with everybody's problems. Uh, Luke, one of the things I do practically to keep this in play is almost all of my meetings are at 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
So this week I have two. So I got two 5:30 meetings and one 6:30 meeting, and they're all with men in our church.
Hmm.
And the reason I do that is because 5:30 doesn't affect anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the average, I remember hearing pastors' kids talk about, I remember packing up to go on family vacation, and my dad got a phone call and he said, unpack the van. And I said, I'm never unpacking the van.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. So I think do you believe that? Do you believe it's the most important thing? How does that look are you willing to say, I'm not going to be gone 4 nights a week? We're gone one. We're gone one every week, which is for our midweek Bible study. Our kids have a class to go to. Our youth group, both my older kids are in youth group, 6th grade and 11th grade. So we go to a Bible study because they're already there. It's already, but I tell you, I can't remember the last time I was gone during another evening of the week. I just don't do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I would if I needed to. There have been a few emergencies that I have gone to, but most of it I can take care of in the mornings or during my work. Josh Tice, I remember him teaching me something about this I thought was so helpful. One of the ways he responded to his people as far as offering meetings. I offer mornings to anybody in my church that wants them.
Mm-hmm.
Then I offer a few days a week from basically 1 to 5. It's just available slot for people to grab. If they call me and say, "Hey, can I see you?" I say, "This is when I'm available." They say, "Well, I don't, I don't do this, whatever." Or look, here's the times I've got. And if they say I just really can't make it, then say, "Have you ever thought about telling your boss that you have an appointment with your pastor, just like you might have an appointment with a doctor?"
Mm.
That you don't get docked for time or whatever. And I've actually said that to a couple of people, and that went over well. Now again, I offer the early morning first. And yesterday morning, I was meeting with one of our military guys. Tomorrow morning, no, Friday morning, I'm meeting with one of our men. So that's my regular rhythm. So
Mm.
yeah, so that's and the reason I said all that, Luke, is because I'm trying to practice what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
I believe that my wife is the most important relationship I have on this earth. I believe my kids is the second most important relationship I have on this earth. My church is maybe not even third. I don't know. I'd have to really think about that. But I have
Yeah.
my church people, I've got college students, I've got friendships and relationships, speaking engagement. I got all kinds of things going on. But I would not say my church is the most important thing, although it is really important work.
Mm. Yeah, and this is really important for pastors and church leaders in particular to hear because being someone who has, worked on a church staff, it is astounding how quickly your evenings in particular get eaten up
Yeah.
by, like you said, different, whether it's a midweek Bible study or if it's some sort of, other type of, and especially these churches out there that are just got all kinds of events and activities and programs. I look at some people that I know in that world, and I am either admirable at the fact that they're able to maintain some type of seemingly healthy relationship with their spouse and kids, or I'm actually kind of skeptical and doubtful, and I go, I wonder how things are there, because it
Yeah.
seems like you're always at the church, and you're not, you're never, home.
Let
Uh,
me give you another. This feeds off this. This is just think whatever you guys want to think about what I'm going to say, and that's completely fine. You could ask my assistant Levi. You could ask my secretary. You could ask my worship pastor. We have what we call here a responsibility based culture, not a office hour culture.
mhm.
So basically, I tell them, well, do whatever you need to do. Like, I don't ask any questions if somebody's not here. I'm here early. I'm the first person here every day. I also may not. Yesterday, my first appointment was at 5:30 in the morning. I left the office at 10 o'clock. I went to the gym, made lunch, came back about 1 o'clock. You know, or some days I just don't. I don't have to come in if I don't need to. We have a responsibility based job here.
Mhm.
So man, if you work late at night, that's on you. That's your choice. I choose to
Yeah.
wake up early, get my job done when it's 3 o'clock. I never Luke, dude, I can tell you right now, I do not remember the last time I stayed in this office past 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Today may be the first day actually in a long time that I stayed past 3 o'clock. And it's not that I don't work, and it's not that I'm not busy. I'm just very strategic
Yeah.
because when those kids come home, you should see the look on my son's face, my little boy, Braxton, when I pick him up from preschool. It's the cutest thing you've ever seen in your life. He thinks me picking him up from school is great. Um, and I'm home and I'll be in the pool this afternoon probably. Well, I guess
Yeah.
today we're actually recording this on a Wednesday, so tonight maybe not. But hey, I'll probably be in the pool tomorrow at 2 o'clock,
Yeah.
2:30. And it's okay because my most important thing I'm doing is not here. I have to be here. There are things I have to do here because it's my job. But what there is where the real work is done.
Yeah.
And man, that's got to be reflected predominantly in your schedule, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I'm gonna throw this out there as one last little maybe if you wanted to look at it as a jab, so be it. But if you again mainly to those pastors out there, if you're still requiring your staff to follow office hours, the conventional 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever Monday to Friday, but you're also requiring them to come to every service and every function, and you are taking 50, 60 plus hours a week from your staff, you need to rethink things, not just from this standpoint of you want healthy family relationships with your staff, but also from a pure productivity standpoint.
Right.
You are burning your people out and you're actually getting less productivity. And that could be another topic for another time.
Yep.
But all that to say, yeah, if you're not prioritizing your home and your family, that, like you said, that's the most important work that you do. And which leads us to kind of the fourth point here, which is
Yep.
that when it comes to your children and obviously your wife as well, you want to give individual time to your children.
That's number 4. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about individual time with my wife. That may be something, another episode we talk about our relationship. Just mark that down. We'll probably need to do that. I've got some things I've taught recently that I think are helpful, but individual time with your children. Now that's easy to say when you got one, right? Of course. But when you
Yeah.
got 5, okay, let's say I gave 30 minutes a day, which I don't. I'm not talking about 30 minutes individually a day. I'm just talking about making sure that you spend time individually with your kids. I'm not in some regimented form, but they need time with you. And we do this all kinds of ways, Luke. I mean, I'm just going to start like my older ones, they go on trips with me. My third child, Blake, he's about to do that. In fact, in August this year, I'm speaking at a church down in Ashtabula, Florida, and it's a boys' trip. I'm taking all my boys, and during that time, we'll spend individual time with them.
Yeah.
But easy ways to do this: grab them with you when you're running an errand. I do this all the time. So I need to go to the store and pick up some bread. I need to go fill up gas in the gas tank. I need to go pick Braxton, for instance, my little one. He likes to ride when we go pick the other kids up from their school because he doesn't go to the same school as them. Going to church with us to do something. It just always grab somebody. There's no reason to go by yourself.
Yeah.
You got kids. Then, so trips are big because I travel a lot. I preach. So we just make it part of the deal. Some people will pay for it. Some won't. If they won't, I'll pay for it. But it's an investment. Brent and Adrian have both traveled with me extensively. And so there's that. Then we haven't done this in a little while just because things have been busy, but we're getting ready to start it back up again. Each week we do one-on-one time with a kid. So for instance, we got 5 kids. So each week, both mom and me take one. So in the course of 5 weeks, we're going to take each of our kids out for like 30 minutes. Most of the time it's McDonald's for a Happy Meal, where we actually go in the restaurant, which I never do except for this,
Yeah.
order their Happy Meal and sit down with them. And they just absolutely love it. And then the other thing that's big is we'll do Sonic. We'll drive over to Sonic, get them a drink or a slushie and just talk. And it may be 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. but you have done individual time. And then there's other things that we do together that are fun, but those are 3 ways that we try to maximize individual time.
Yeah. And again, I will say raising 1, not 5, but yeah, giving time to your children like that. It seems like something that if you're not careful, you think you're doing it, but if you're not intentional about it, you're actually
Oh,
not doing it
absolutely.
as much as you may believe.
I totally agree. And Angie's the one that instilled that one-on-one time. And just the other day, my middle son Blake asked me about one-on-one time because we had, again, Angie started working again at the church and just got crazy. But now they're getting ready to go back to homeschool this coming fall. So starting this summer and into this fall, we're going to be doing it a lot. Individual time, and I think just even more broadly, Luke, just time. Spend time with your kids. I know I've got a project to work on with my son who's got something for school. It might be their homework. It might be enduring Bluey. I think you mentioned Bluey last time. I
Yeah.
mean, it might be for us. We have a swimming pool, so we swim together. I mean, and let me tell you another thing I do that feeds into this. I never take my laptop home.
Wow.
Ever, for any reason. This computer that I'm working on right now stays here unless I know I'm going out of town. I do not work at home. Now,
Wow.
Angie sometimes needs my help with a few things, and I'll use her laptop because she does she's doing our like social media stuff.
Mhm.
So she'll create these little videos and different things. And so she wants my input on this, or she says, hey, can you check on this? Well, let me see your computer. I'll log in her computer. I do not bring this laptop home. I am not going to come home when I'm supposed to be with my kids and bring my work home with me. I don't, and here's the thing. I rarely answer my phone. I never answer my phone if I don't have you in my phone. Never. Like I'm not answering you.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody from the church, depends on what's going on, I might answer it. But then I know as a pastor, who are the time suckers who will call you when they don't really need you. But sometimes I'll see a name that's a little out of the ordinary. Like they don't call me all the time. I might take that one because maybe there's a problem.
Yeah.
So I just make those judgment calls. Here's the thing. You ever heard a voicemail? Ever heard of a
Yeah.
text message?
Yeah.
I can get back to you. And sometimes I'll say, Angie, hey, look, I'm going to step outside for 5 minutes, take this call. No problem. It's never an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's all you do,
yeah,
you're going to sink the ship. You're going to
make it the exception, not the rule.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Bryan, we said we were going to cover 5 in this episode, but I don't think we've got time because you said before we started recording that number 5 is one you really wanted to rant on. And so,
listen, number 5 is the biggest deal. So I'm going to just tell you what it is right now, and then we're going to pick it up next time. Here's your teaser. Here's
tease
your
it out. Yeah.
Number 5, don't raise entitled brats.
Period. All right.
Period.
That's it.
So
there's the cliffhanger.
Yeah, there's your cliffhanger. And if you want to get me piped up about kids, this is it right here. And I'm gonna share you what I mean. Share you one thing that really changed my life. In fact, when you come back to next week's episode, I'm going to share with you a resource that absolutely dramatically changed my life. And so we'll see you next time at the Church Advance podcast. And we really appreciate your support and your following and your sharing of our material. God bless you guys. Have a good day.
Thanks again for joining us for this episode, and we really would appreciate it if you could leave us that 5-star review, and then of course share this content with your friends. We want to help as many pastors and church leaders as we can, and be sure to of course follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you may listen to podcasts. And go ahead and subscribe to the Church Advance YouTube channel at youtube.com/@churchadvance. This podcast is hosted by Bryan Sams. It is co-hosted and produced by myself, Luke Clayton, and the team at mustincrease.com. If you want to connect with Bryan, be sure to head over to his website at bryansams.com. Well, we really look forward to seeing you again in the next episode as we continue to advance a reformation of fellowship, partnership, and gospel hope amongst Bible-believing pastors and churches right here on Church Advance with Bryan Sams.